In 2022, Twitch made a decision that spawned the greatest competitor they've ever had. But what if I told you that this was the right decision for all of us? On September 20th, 2022, Twitch decided to ban the most egregious forms of gambling off of their site after an incident where a streamer scammed his audience out of $200,000. This led to a sequence of events where the biggest streamers on Twitch's platform are either leaving or they are signing deals with this new competitor named Kick.com. Kick is only 8 months old too. But let's back up a little bit. Let's go back to early to mid 2022. Gambling had become a huge trend for popular streamers to entertain and interact with their audiences. Gambling streams were bringing in millions and millions of viewers. And just like with all metas on Twitch, there was bound to be something that happened that caused a little bit of controversy, or in this case, a lot of controversy. Abraham Muhammad, aka Slicker, had over 400,000 subscribers and focused his content around gambling. Slicker came out not too long after and admitted that he did actually unintentionally scam his viewers and friends out of $300,000. He did this by asking for loans and tons of donations so he could then spend it on his gambling addiction, which also fueled content for the streams. He stated that his gambling problems actually started in Counter-Strike Go when he would bet on matches and also open the loot boxes, also known as cases. Because of this particular instance, the pressure was put on Twitch to figure out a solution to this morally gray area. Soon after this happened, Twitch decided to make a statement. Their statement said this: Twitch will prohibit content that includes slots, roulette, or dice games that aren't licensed either in the US or other jurisdictions that provide sufficient consumer protection. Twitch also reinforced its stance on prohibiting the dispersal of sharing links or referral codes to different gambling sites, where online gambling companies like, tell me if you've heard them before, Stake.com, Rollbit.com, Duelbits.com, and Roobet.com. If you've been keeping up with the space, then you know that one of those especially sounds familiar. Banning popular forms of gambling would make big streamers lose thousands of dollars in revenue a month, and understandably, they'd be angry about that. One streamer who was especially affected by these changes was Trainwreck's TV. Trainwreck's championed the campaign against targeting gambling streamers this way. Soon after, Trainwreck's decided to move his community to the newly founded streaming platform Kick, which was funded by his long-term sponsor, Stake.com. After relocating, Trainwreck's served as an advisor and also a streamer for the platform. He advised Kick on some strategies on how to take market share away from Twitch. At Trainwreck's advice, Kick decided to go with a 95-5 split. That is a 95% revenue split going to the streamers and content creators, and only 5% of the revenue going back to Kick. This is ridiculous and absurd for the space. No platform has ever done anything like this before, so it created a lot of media buzz. This directly opposed Twitch, who focused instead on a 50-50 split. Reception to the 95-5 revenue split from Kick.com was tremendous. It created tons of buzz for months on social media platforms. Since streamers have such a hard time making a livelihood on average anyways, this was a huge deal to the average to smaller streamer to be able to get almost all of their revenue from the platform. They're not used to this sort of thing with Twitch. So plenty of people moved over there. But even despite that, new criticisms and questions about longevity arose. Stake.com reported $2.6 billion in gross revenue in 2022. So for them, Kick could also just be a really good advertising service. If Kick grows exponentially, it is possible that they will adjust their revenue splits to keep up with growing interest and costs. So that 95-5 split may not always be a thing 2 to 3 years down the road. Every new platform starts with an amazing offer, but few keep that offer from years later. The community guidelines on Kick are extremely flexible compared to Twitch and YouTube. Kick streamers are able to talk about and show content on a wide spectrum that would normally be way too risky for Twitch or YouTube to accept, especially in their terms of service. For some creators, this is an extremely attractive part of the deal, where they get to post whatever content they want in kind of a freedom of speech kind of situation. On the other hand, this could also breed a bit of hostility in an unsafe environment compared to that on YouTube, Twitch, or other services, especially for the younger audience. Ultimately, every creator streamer is going to have to choose whatever's right for their niche and whatever platform fits their brand. But Kick is surprisingly securing a niche somewhere between OnlyFans happens in YouTube in terms of their content regulation. But even though the guidelines are a bit lax on the Kick side of things, which is appealing to some, they're having a little bit of difficulty getting a hold of even their large streamers. Take the XQC situation. Recently, XQC signed to Kick in a historic, mind-boggling $100 million contract for 2 years that is non-exclusive, which means that he is not tied down to just Kick. He can still stream to Twitch and YouTube and anywhere else he wants, but he will be receiving $100 million over the course of 2 years. That is crazy money for a non-exclusive deal. But within weeks of signing his new deal, he decided to stream The Dark Knight on Kick, which is obviously a huge break in DMCA rules. Kick moderators had to go into his chat and tell him to stop the stream and delete the VOD. That's wild. It's not a good look for your brand new platform when your biggest streamer decides to take advantage of it the minute he gets a major deal. But what happened to XQC, you ask? Well, he got a slap on the wrist. But if that were you or me, or another smaller to medium to even large creator, I'm not sure we would have been so lucky. But of course, XQC wasn't the only one to do such a thing. Let's not forget about Aiden Ross, who streamed the entirety of the Super Bowl to over 100,000 viewers at the time. If creators keep taking advantage of the platform like this, then there's going to be legal ramifications for either the creators or Kick itself. Twitch got under a lot of hot water about DMCA stuff as well, especially with copyright music. In the Kick terms of service, it states, "Company takes no responsibility and assumes no liability for any user content that you or any other user or third party posts, sends, or otherwise makes available over the service. You shall be solely responsible for your user content and the consequences of posting, publishing it, sharing it, or otherwise making it available on the service. And you agree that we are only acting as a passive conduit for your online distribution and publication of your user content." This is fancy speak for you're on your own, kid, and if you post this kind of content, you will be in trouble. However, this is not entirely true, because Kick will also still be in trouble from the public eye. Public perception of how Kick is doing and the platform itself is debatably the most important thing they have going for them right now. If their brand gets tarnished because creators like XQC and Aiden Ross, and add on to the list eventually, are taking advantage of their platform, then you're going to lose public perception, and you may even lose sponsorship perception, may have companies that don't want to work with you and invest in your platform, like the NFL. So although the terms of service highlights it's on you as the content creator, it's also on them to moderate this stuff so it doesn't lead their platform to ruin. Before streaming on Kick, I would encourage you reading their rules on DMCA stuff. It's good to be informed. There'll be a link to that in the description, as well as the other sources we used for this video. But some of the troubling nature about this Kick situation is that the culture itself is showing signs of streamers getting a quick payday and then doing whatever the heck they want. This could begin to become a bigger issue over time, unless they take care of it now. Besides legal issues though, there are monetary concerns and financial concerns also at play here. Twitch made $2.8 billion in revenue in 2022, but is still not considered profitable and has not been profitable since the Justin TV days. And there are multiple sources that corroborate this. The costs on the platform are only increasing over time as well. Recently, Twitch made the decision to institute a 70-30 revenue split instead of their 50-50 and different varying ones. But you have to meet the stipulations of having 351 subscribers, which cannot include Amazon Prime subs or certain kinds of gifted subs. That's a big deal because there are a huge amount of streamers who benefit from Amazon Prime subs because they come with Amazon Prime. It's one of the biggest bonuses to having Twitch and using Twitch is the Amazon Prime subs. And so if those don't count towards the total, then that hurts a lot of streamers as well. Strangely enough, this split is only available until someone reaches $100,000, and then the sub split will be cut back down to 50-50. Huh, that's strange. If you are interested in more specifics on this decision, Forbes actually released a really good article that we're gonna link in the description below, along with our other articles. If Kick grows as exponentially in the next year as it is predicted to, then the cost of running the platform will also skyrocket. The ironic thing about Kick and how much it costs to run Kick is that Kick is using Amazon Web Services servers in order to run their platform, which is hilariously ironic. Kick is using the same servers streamers that Twitch is also using. But there is no way that Kick.com is going to get any sort of kickbacks or discounts like Twitch does. So Kick has a higher operating cost inherently just from the servers. Some sources are coming out saying that Kick pays 10 times the amount that Twitch does to use Amazon servers. Is that sustainable? Stake made approximately $2.6 billion in net revenue in 2022. If Kick grew to approximately 1/4 of the size of Twitch, their cost of running the platform could realistically equal approximately half of Stake's earnings in 2022. The most telling signs of longevity will be when we receive the earning reports from Twitch, Stake, and Kick respectively for 2023. Stay tuned for those if we ever get them. Economic times for consumers and companies are a little bit shaky right now, but even if they weren't, companies naturally look to cut costs and to increase their margining. Twitch has already laid off hundreds of employees in the last year alone. Amazon has laid off thousands, and so have other tech giants like Google and Microsoft. They all have had tremendous layoffs to their workers, which is a little indicative of the tech space right now. Both Twitch and Kick are almost guaranteed to lose money at this rate. They have nearly identical business models, nearly identical user interfaces, and nearly identical user experiences. The main difference is Twitch has been around longer, but the fact that Kick is even doing a fraction of what Twitch is doing in less than a year is incredible. But we need to think about the motivations behind Kick existing at all. In my opinion, the main hope for Kick is actually Stake using Kick as a means to get more people into the gambling side of Stake. It's to push gambling to a much more broad audience of gamers and streamers and people who watch that sort of content or similar adjacent content. Ultimately, the big irony here is that Kick is itself a gamble for Stake, the gambling company. They could lose a lot of money from providing this platform to people, but it could also potentially gain them a lot of money when they get a lot of converted gamblers. Ultimately, as a creator, it is important to weigh the pros and cons of each streaming situation and simply do what you believe is best for your streaming community. You also have to consider your personal values and your long-term goals. Is Kick going to be around in 5 years? The jury is still out. Is Twitch going to be around in 5 years? Recently, the jury has been out on that too. So you need to really think about where your audience and community is going to be in 5 years. Not tomorrow, not this week or this year. You gotta be thinking ahead. What's the best move for the future of your business and your community? But to sum up the 3 major streaming platforms based on their pros and cons in a few seconds, YouTube is the best discovery ecosystem due to the integrated video side the platform is based on. They don't actually need revenue from streaming because they get all of their revenue from the video side. And it's very easy to build an audience over on YouTube as long as you're posting content from your streams as actual videos. Hugely helpful to getting more people to your streams, which will then get you more revenue. Twitch, on the other hand, has the longest standing community, has a die-hard following, and has polished features that the other services just don't yet. And then there's Kick, and Kick has easily the highest revenue potential in the short term and the long term in some regard when it comes to their streaming products. That 95-5 split is tremendously good. It's not for show, it is legitimately a really good offering for prospective streamers. The trouble is, it's the newest of the 3, and so there's gonna be a lot of kinks that it needs to iron out and a lot of identity shaping that it's gotta go through. You're gonna have to choose wisely, or don't, and choose all 3. It's never good to have all your eggs in one basket. I'm sure the Mixer audience would agree with that. YouTube's not going anywhere. It is too big to fail because of the video side of the platform. They're not focused on just a live streaming service. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with Twitch and Kick and see who comes out on top. If you have any more questions about the streaming platforms, feel free to hit me up on a DM on Twitter or comment down below. Go ahead and check out some OBS tutorials above my head so you can get started streaming today on either Kick or Twitch. Doesn't matter. Let's keep learning together. See you in the next one.